Welcome to Watch Cozy. Before we start this episode, please subscribe to our channel. We work really hard to find documents and put together this podcast for you. Okay, so let's get into it. Today we're looking at the ideas of Robert Greene, specifically from his book, Mastery.
Right. And it's a book that, well, it really tackles a big question, doesn't it? How do you find that work that feels truly yours? You know, not just something you do, but something that clicks deep down.
Exactly. And then how do you actually get really, really good at it? Become, well, a master.
Yeah. And Greene doesn't treat it like some vague idea. He actually maps out these 6 distinct stages he believes everyone goes through or can go through.
So our plan here is to, walk through these stages together, pull out the key insights, those bits that might make you think differently.
And see what it all means for you, for finding your own path and heading towards that mastery level.
It's like when you see someone, could be anyone, a musician, an athlete, maybe just someone you know.
Yeah.
And they're just amazing at what they do. You just think, wow, they were made for this.
And for them, work isn't just work, right? It feels like part of who they are. It's how they express themselves, how they contribute. That's the goal Greene's talking about.
Okay, so where does he say this whole journey starts? What's step 1?
Stage 1, according to Greene, is all about finding what he calls your inner voice.
Inner voice. Okay, what's the thinking there?
Well, his argument is basically that every single one of us is, fundamentally unique, biologically, experientially. There's only one you.
Right, makes sense.
And because you're unique, he thinks we're not just blank slates. There's a kind of natural leaning, a potential, maybe even a specific calling for each person. The hard part isn't that it doesn't exist. It's actually hearing it, tuning in to that signal.
Which brings up a good point. If we all have this, why do so many people feel, lost or stuck in the wrong place?
Exactly. And Greene says it's often because we listen too much to everything else. All the noise from outside, make more money, get famous, do what's trendy, don't let your parents down. All these things, these pressures, they can totally overwhelm that quiet or inner pull.
So how does he suggest we find it again? Cut through that noise.
One really interesting idea he has is to look back, way back to your childhood. What did you just love doing? What were you intensely curious about for no reason other than the fascination itself? What felt like play?
Ah, those things you get totally lost in, where time just disappears.
Precisely. Greene argues that thread, those early fascinations, that's often your internal compass. It points towards your natural talents, your real interests, maybe even the seed of your life's work.
He uses himself as an example too, doesn't he?
He does. Talks about chasing external stuff for years, money, status in jobs that felt totally wrong, felt disconnected. It wasn't until he was, around 40 that he really went for writing, which had always been this quiet interest, his inner voice, as he puts it.
That's quite powerful. It kind of pushes back against that feeling of, oh, it's too late, or I'm already on this track. Making that shift, listening to that inner thing, that's what he says, unlocked his potential, led to the work he's known for.
And what I find interesting is how he links it to purpose. If you see yourself as having this kind of mission, guided by that inner voice, not just chasing external approval, it makes your work meaningful, sure, but it gives your whole life more meaning. The energy comes from inside, from fulfilling that, not someone else's definition of success.
Okay, so let's say you've done that reflection. You've listened. You've maybe got a sense of direction, a field you're drawn to. What's stage 2?
Stage 2 is what he calls the apprenticeship. Okay? You found the path, generally speaking. Now you need the actual skills, the techniques, the practical know-how, the real craft involved to actually do the work and eventually get good at it.
Right. This is the putting in the hours phase.
Yeah.
Learning, practicing, maybe doing the less glamorous stuff. But he warns about a common trap here, doesn't he?
Oh, definitely. The rush for recognition, wanting praise or feeling like you need to be seen as successful way too early. People focus on the outcome, the validation, before they've really built that solid foundation of skill.
And Greene says, counterintuitively maybe, that you should actually try to delay that need for attention.
Exactly. The longer you can just focus purely on learning the fundamentals without needing the applause, the stronger your base will be later on. Patience is key. Deep learning over quick praise.
Makes sense. Like trying to play a huge concert after learning 3 chords. You also mentioned money being a factor here.
Absolutely. Look, everyone needs to survive, obviously. But if making the most money right now becomes the main goal during apprenticeship, it can really pull you off course. You might jump between jobs or pass up chances to really learn deeply because another offer pays slightly more immediately.
So it's not about ignoring money, but earning enough while keeping the main focus on really mastering the craft.
Yeah, see, early income as fuel, not the final destination.
And you need to be smart about what you learn too,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Greene talks about figuring out the core skills, the absolute must-haves for your field, the things you just cannot skip, and really dedicating your energy to those.
Like, you wouldn't design a bridge without understanding physics first.
Yeah.
Every field has those essentials.
And maybe the biggest thing for this stage, mentally, is developing a long-term view. Greene points out that people with, let's say, a weaker mindset often separate work and life. Work is just the chore you endure.
Whereas those with a stronger mindset see work as connected to who they are, what they value.
Right. And if it's part of your life, something you actually care about, you're naturally going to be invested in getting better over time, continuously learning, not just clocking in for the paycheck.
Okay, so we've found the voice. We're putting in the apprenticeship hours, building skills. Where does Greene say we go next?
Stage 3 is finding a mentor.
A mentor, someone who's been there, done that.
Exactly. Someone who's already walked the path you're starting on. They know the pitfalls, they've made the mistakes, they understand the landscape. Their guidance can save you just huge amounts of time and wasted effort.
It's like getting a map instead of trying to find your way in the dark, basically.
Okay.
Accelerates things.
Dramatically. But Greene is clear. The point isn't just to become a copy of your mentor.
Right.
You learn their methods, understand their thinking, avoid the common mistakes, get the nuances faster. Yes. But the ideal end goal is actually to surpass them eventually, to learn what they know, but also see where their limits are and use that to build your own unique style.
Choosing the right mentor sounds pretty critical then.
Oh, absolutely. You have to check back in with that inner voice again. Does this person really align with your values, your long-term goals, the kind of work you ultimately want to do?
Yeah, getting stuck with the wrong mentor, someone whose whole approach clashes with yours, that sounds like a major setback. A waste of time, really.
For sure. Okay, so inner voice, check. Apprenticeship skills, check. Mentor guidance, check. Stage 4.
Stage 4 is social intelligence.
Ah, okay. This is interesting because it's not just about skill anymore.
Exactly. Greene makes this really vital point. Having amazing talent or skill often isn't enough on its own. Not for mastery, not for having real influence. You have to learn how to navigate the human world. Relationships, motivations, politics, building a supportive community.
He even mentions studies, I think, about gifted kids.
Yeah, some incredibly bright kids ended up struggling later because they were isolated. They didn't develop social skills, couldn't collaborate, couldn't connect.
While others, just as gifted but also socially intelligent, were much more successful at actually applying their talents in the world.
It makes perfect sense when you think about it. Energy spent on office politics or dealing with difficult people is energy not spent mastering your craft. Understanding people is a practical advantage.
And he flags a couple of specific human traits to be really aware of. First one, envy.
Ooh, yeah. That's always bubbling under the surface, isn't it? Often unsaid.
Totally. And Greene says a classic mistake, especially when you're starting out, is showing off too much. Making big claims before you've really earned it. That's like waving a red flag for envy. It just creates resistance you don't need.
So the smarter way is...
Keep your head down, focus on getting genuinely good, let the quality of your work speak for itself, gain influence through competence, not by bragging early.
Okay, makes sense. What's the second trait?
Conformism, the herd mentality. You know, that deep, often unconscious urge we all have to fit in, to belong.
And that can cause problems too.
Oh yeah. You might bite your tongue, compromise your own ideas, just to be accepted by a group that doesn't really align with you. Or the opposite, you might become overly rebellious just to prove you're independent, which can also backfire.
So the skill is finding that balance. Knowing when to assert your uniqueness and when to, play the game a bit to get things done.
Exactly. Social intelligence isn't about being fake, it's a tool. Handled right, it helps you achieve your goals without draining your energy or making you compromise who you really are.
He also mentioned developing a persona around this stage.
Yeah, but not in a deceptive way. It's more about consciously shaping how you present yourself professionally, how you communicate your core values, your approach. It's not a mask hiding the real you. It's more like a focused projection. It helps people understand what you're about, what drives you. It clarifies your identity and purpose for others.
Okay, moving on. Stage 5.
Yeah.
This feels like where things really start to shift towards making your own mark. Creativity.
Yes. After you've got the skills, you understand the social stuff, now you need to stand out. You can't just be a technically good copycat forever. You need to find your own angle, develop your own style, make your unique contribution.
And the danger here is getting comfortable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hitting a certain level of competence and just stopping there.
Totally. Complacency.
Yeah.
Just doing what's always been done, what's expected, instead of pushing boundaries or really putting your personal stamp on the work.
Because all true masters, they innovate. They don't just replicate.
Mm.
So how does Greene suggest we cultivate that creativity?
He talks about a few things. One fascinating concept is negative capability. He borrows this from the poet Keats.
Negative capability, what's that?
It's basically the ability to handle uncertainty, doubt, mystery, without getting frustrated and jumping to conclusions too quickly.
Ah, so resisting the urge to immediately label everything right or wrong, good or bad.
Exactly. Staying open, letting conflicting ideas just sit there for a while. It creates mental space for new connections, for those aha moments.
Being genuinely open-minded seems key too.
Definitely. Not just reading things that confirm what you already think, but actively seeking out different perspectives. Even looking at subjects totally unrelated to your field. He points out how often breakthroughs happen when someone connects ideas from different areas that most people keep separate. Broadening your knowledge base can spark unexpected creative leaps.
And he mentions something simple, but often overlooked. Rest.
Yeah, sleep. Sometimes the best thing you can do for creativity is to step away. Let your mind wander, consolidate things while you rest. That breakthrough might come when you're not consciously grinding away at the problem.
So this stage is really about consciously shifting gears. From being a skilled technician to becoming an innovator with your own voice.
Precisely. Developing that unique signature. Which leads us, finally, to the last stage. Stage 6. Mastery.
The destination. What does that look like according to Greene?
This is where it all comes together. Masters have spent years honing skills, understanding their field inside out, but they've also managed to reconnect that original intuitive inner voice with all that acquired skill and logic.
As kids, we have tons of intuition but no skill. Then as adults, we gain skill but often lose touch with intuition, become too rigid.
Exactly. Mastery is where instinct and deep skill and rational thought work together seamlessly. It's like a highly informed intuition, a flow state built on thousands of hours of practice.
So they're not just technically brilliant, they operate from this deep, almost intuitive understanding.
Yes. They've truly found their path, and they inhabit it. They don't have to consciously think through every step in the same way. They influence people, often just by the sheer quality and authenticity of what they do. And crucially, Greene says, their work gives their own lives profound meaning and value.
It's reaching that peak level of competence, but staying deeply connected to who you are and expressing that through your work.
And through that work, contributing something genuinely unique back to the world.
Wow. Okay, so that's the journey through Greene's 6 stages. Finding the inner voice, the apprenticeship grind, finding a mentor, developing social intelligence, sparking creativity, and finally, reaching mastery where skill and intuition merge.
It's quite a roadmap.
So why does going through this matter for you listening right now?
Well, I think it's a really powerful way to see that finding fulfillment and getting exceptionally good at something isn't just luck. It's a process.
It starts by recognizing that your unique qualities, that inner voice, aren't things to ignore. They're the starting point, the thing to build upon. It's about unlocking your potential, finding work that feels less like a job and more like, well, like you, and making a real impact because of that.
Robert Greene really suggests that people who reach this mastery level, they find their path, they influence others naturally, and their lives gain deep meaning through it all.
So maybe here's something to think about. Perhaps real success isn't just about the skill level you reach or the external rewards. Maybe it's about how deeply your work lets you express who you truly are, your authentic self.
It allows you to contribute something that only you can bring to the world. Definitely something to reflect on as you think about your own path.